Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to my channel Creative Grandma. It's Stitch of the Week time and this week's stitch is number 11. It is called the Shells and Trellis stitch. Now this pattern is a multiple of 9 plus 4. So you would chain 9 again, keep chaining in multiples of 9, and when you get your project to the width you want, then you would add 4 more chains. Now, in the beginning of my videos, I always show 3 samples and the yarn I use for the samples. So if you don't want to hear me talking about the yarns and showing the samples, you can go ahead and skip ahead in the video directly to the stitch of where we're starting the stitch. And I always like to show the samples and I like to show the yarns I use because most of the time, sometimes somebody sees something, they want to know what the color of the yarn is because they like the yarn and things like that. So that's why I do that. And again, you can always skip ahead in the video if you don't want to watch this part of the video. So this is my first sample and you're going to see these beautiful shell stitches and you're going to see the trellis going up in between the shell stitches. This is a 1-row repeat, very easy stitch pattern, and this is what I like to call a TV crocheting pattern, where you can watch TV and just buzz right along crocheting and not have to worry about complicated instructions. So this is my first sample, and this sample was made using Lion Brand's landscape yarn. This is one of my favorite yarns. It's a roving yarn, but it's so beautiful, the different colorways they have available. And this is color number Coral Reef number 211. That's the color number. And I also used a size H8 or 5mm crochet hook. Now this is calling for a 10.5K hook. So when you look on your yarn label right here, it's going to say 10.5K. But I just thought the stitch pattern looked a little bit better dropping that hook size down and using a much smaller hook. Again, I used an H8 or 5mm. So a lot of times with these stitch patterns and with the yarns you're using, it gives you a recommended hook size, but you can change the hook size depending on the stitch you're using and the effect that you want from the stitch. So my recommendation is, again, just play around with the hook size and see which results you get best, because this may be a thinner yarn than some of the other 4 medium weight yarns, and this is classified as a 4 medium, but you might get a different 4 medium that is a lot thicker and you may have to bump up your hook size. So it's not an exact science. It's a lot of playing around, maybe dropping a hook size, upping a hook size, and again, it just depends on the results you want. And all 3 samples that I'm showing you today, I did use the same hook size for all the yarns. They were all 4 medium weight yarns. So let's go ahead and move on to the second sample. So I put my third sample underneath this one just to add a little bit darker color behind that white since I have a white table. But this is what it looks like done in white. And this was made using Premier Basics. This again is a medium 4 worsted weight yarn. And this is what the second sample looked like. This is the front, and again, it's a 1-row repeat. So this is a reversible pattern where it's going to look the same on the front as it does on the back. So that's the second sample. Now my third sample, I decided to use a multicolor, and this is the Red Heart Super Saver. This was a jumbo skein, but this is also a 4 medium weight yarn, and this is Mexicana. This is color number 0950, so that's what the yarn looks like. And then this is what the pattern looks like when worked up. Again, it's going to look the same on the front as it does on the back. Just a really fun, super easy pattern. So here are the 3 samples I just showed you. So you can see that every time you do a stitch pattern, no matter whether it's this stitch pattern or a different stitch pattern, there's so many different looks you can get by just the yarn you choose. So for today's crochet tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be making this sample here. I'm using the Lion Brand's Landscape yarn in Coral Reef, color number 211. And I'm also using a size H8 or 5mm hook. So grab your yarn, grab your hook, and let's get this stitch pattern started. I have my yarn attached to my hook and I just used a double knot. You can use whichever method you prefer to join your yarn to your hook. We're going to chain 31. That is the multiple of 9 times 3 for 27. And then we're going to add 4 for a total of 31. You're going to yarn over the hook, pull it through the loop on your hook. This creates your first chain. The loop on your hook does not count as a chain. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue until you have 31 chains, and I'll be back and we'll start row 1. I'm back. I have a total of 31 chains, and now we're ready to begin row 1. To begin row 1, we're going to skip the first 3 chain, 1, 2, 3. Into the 4th chain from hook, we're going to work a double crochet. You're going to yarn over, you're going to insert into that 4th chain from hook, yarn over, pull back through that chain. You have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. You just made your first double crochet stitch. Now we're going to start our repeat. We're going to skip the next 3 chain, 1, 2, 3. Into this 4th chain, we're going to work our shell stitch of 3 double crochet, chain 1, and 3 double crochet. So let's begin. You're going to yarn over, skip the next 3 chains, insert into that 4th chain, work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, back into that same chain, work your 3rd double crochet. You're going to chain 1, which is the center of your shell stitch, and now we're going to go back into that same chain and work 3 more double crochet. That's 1, 2, and 3. Your shell stitch is made. You have 3 double crochet, a chain 1, and 3 double crochet all into that same chain space. Now we're going to skip the next 3 chain, and make sure when you're looking at your work, this shell stitch likes to come over that next chain. Make sure you're pulling that shell stitch back and you're skipping the correct chains. So again, we're going to skip the next 3 chains, into the next chain, work a double crochet. Double crochet into the next chain, and that is the end of the repeat. So let's do the repeat again. You're going to yarn over, skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, into the next chain, work your shell of 3 double crochet, 1, 2, into the same chain, work your 3rd double crochet. Chain 1 for the center of your shell stitch, and then back into the same chain, work 3 more double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. And again, your shell stitch is 3 double crochet, a chain 1, and 3 double crochet all into that same chain. You're going to yarn over, skip the next 3 chain, 1, 2, 3, into the next chain, work a double crochet. Then we're going to work a double crochet into the next chain. And that is the end of the repeat. So we have 1 repeat to go, so let's go ahead and do it together. You're going to skip the next 3 chain, work 3 double crochet into the next chain, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to chain 1 for the center of your shell, and then you're going to work 3 more double crochet back into that same chain. 1, 2, and 3. And again, your shell stitch is 3 double crochet, a chain 1, and 3 double crochet. You're going to skip the next 3 chain, 1, 2, 3, into this next chain, work a double crochet. And you're going to end your repeat by working a double crochet into the next chain, which is the last chain of our sample. So if you're working on a wider project, maybe an afghan or something wider, you just click back on the video and you're going to do the repeat of skipping 3 chain, working a shell stitch of 3 double crochet, chain 1, 3 double crochet into the next chain, skip 3 chain, and work a double crochet in each of the next 2 chains. When you get done with your last repeat, it should be worked with the last double crochet into the last chain of the row. So row 1 of our sample swatch is finished, and row 1 is our base row. Row 2 will be your repeat row. So let's go ahead and begin row 2. Row 2, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to turn your work. Your beginning chain 3 acts as the first stitch of the row. Now we're going to double crochet into this next stitch, yarn over, insert into the very next stitch, work a double crochet. So now we're going to skip the next 3 double crochet, yarn over, insert into that next chain 1 space right into the center of our shell, and we're going to work a shell stitch of 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3, and we're working all our stitches into that same chain 1 space. You're going to chain 1 for the center of your shell, and then 3 more double crochet back into that same chain 1 space. 1, 2, and 3. So when you look at your work, you're going to have 3 double crochet, a chain 1, and 3 double crochet shell made right into the center of the shell below. You're going to skip the next 3 double crochet of the current shell. You're going to skip this next double crochet, and we're going to work 2 double crochet right in the center of these 2 stitches, right between the 2 stitches. Yarn over, insert in between the 2 double crocheted group, work 2 double crochet. 1, yarn over, insert back into that same space between those 2 double crochet, work your second double crochet. We're going to skip the next 4 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to work our shell stitch right into the center of the next shell. Yarn over, insert into the chain 1 space of the next shell stitch, work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to chain 1. You're going to work 3 more double crochet back into that same chain 1 space. 1, 2, and 3. Your shell stitch is made, and again you have 3 double crochet, a chain 1, 3 double crochet right in the center of the shell stitch below, right into that chain 1 space. And that is the end of the repeat. So we have 1 more repeat to go, so let's go ahead and do it together. We're going to skip the next 4 double crochet, and again make sure you're counting that first double crochet of the second side of that shell. We're skipping 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochet, and then we're going right into the center of that 2 double crochet group right in between those stitches, and we're working 2 double crochet. Yarn over, again skip 4 double crochet stitches, insert between that 4th skip stitch and the next right in between the center of those 2 double crochet group, work 2 double crochet. 1 and 2. You're going to skip the next 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and into the next chain 1 space of the center of the shell, you're going to work a shell stitch. Yarn over, insert into the chain 1 space, work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. You're going to chain 1 for the center of your shell stitch and work 3 more double crochet back into that same chain 1 space. 1, 2, and 3. And that is the end of the repeat. So if you're working on a wider project, then you're going to go ahead and continue. You're going to skip the next 4 double crochet stitches, work 2 double crochet in the center of that 2 double crochet group below. Then you're going to skip the next 4 double crochet and work your shell stitch of 3 double crochet, chain 1, and 3 double crochet into the chain 1 space of the shell below. You're going to work that and repeat it across to the end of the row and end your repeat in the very last shell stitch. And then when you look at your work, you're going to have the 4 double crochet stitches, and then you're turning chain. This was those 3 skip chain that you skipped in the beginning of row 1. So to end the row, you're going to skip the next 3 double crochet stitches, but to end the row, we're going to work 1 double crochet in each of these last 2 stitches. Yarn over, skip the next 3 stitches, insert into that next stitch, work a double crochet. And then you're going to double crochet into the top of this turning chain, yarn over, insert into that top of your turning chain, work a double crochet. Now the one thing I did want to point out with this pattern, I'm just going to take my hook out, is when you start the row, we're working a chain 3 as the first double crochet, and we're working our second double crochet into that second stitch. We're not going in between them. So to start the row and end the row, we're working in each stitch. But the rest of the row, in between the shell stitches, we're actually going in between the stitches. And then when you end the row, you're going into each stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead and do row 2 again. I'm going to do it a little bit faster because I really went into detail with row 2. So I just want to repeat it one more time. You're going to go ahead and chain 3 for the beginning of the next row. You're going to turn your work. The beginning chain 3 counts as the first stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're going to work our shell stitch into the next chain 1 space. I'm working 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 for the center of your shell and work 3 more double crochet all into that same chain 1 space. And if I'm going too fast, then you can just slow down the video. So your shell stitch is made, and again, it's right in the center of the shell stitch below. Then we're going to work 2 double crochet right into the center of the 2 double crochet group between the shell stitches. That's 1. I'm inserting back into that same space and working my second double crochet right between the 2 double crochet group. Then I'm going to go to my next shell stitch right into the chain 1 space and work my shell stitch. 3 double crochet into that same chain 1 space. You're going to chain 1 for the center of your shell and work 3 more double crochet into that same space. Your shell stitch is made, and again, it's right in the center of the shell below. Then you're going to go over to your 2 double crochet group and work 2 double crochet right into the center of that 2 double crochet group. That's 1. And 2. Now we're going over to our shell stitch and working a shell stitch right into the center of the next shell stitch in that chain 1 space. So we're working 3 double crochet into that same chain 1 space. Chain 1 for the center of the shell, and then 3 more double crochet back into that same chain 1 space. And again, if I'm going too fast, you can just click back on the video to where I really went into detail for row 2. Once you get to the end of the row, you're ending your last repeat by a shell stitch into the last shell stitch. And to end the row, you're going to work 1 double crochet into the last 2 stitches. You're going to have a double crochet stitch and you're turning chain 3. So yarn over, skip those 3 double crochet of that shell, insert into that next double crochet, work a double crochet. Double crochet into the top of the ending, turning chain 3. Row 3 is finished. So I'm just going to take my hook out, and then I just want to show you the work. Again, you have your beginning chain 3, which counts as the first double crochet into the next stitch, shell stitch into the center of the next shell, 2 double crochet right in between the 2 double crochet group, and you're going to repeat shell stitch in the center of that next shell, and then 2 double crochet right in between the 2 double crochet group below, and then end your repeat with a shell stitch into the last shell stitch. When you get to the end of the row, you're working 1 double crochet into that last double crochet and 1 double crochet into the top of the ending turning chain. So very simple pattern. Again, it's a 1 row repeat. So to continue working on your sample, just click back on the video, repeat row 2 over and over until you get your sample to the length you want or until you feel comfortable doing the stitch. Now remember, all of our Stitch of the Week patterns are free. I'll put the link in the description box underneath this video. Just click on that link. It'll take you right to Creative Grandma's website, and then click on the banner that says Stitch of the Week, and then you can scroll right down through all the Stitch of the Week patterns. You can download one, you can download them all, and I always suggest to get yourself a binder and some of those sheet protectors and start yourself a little stitch notebook. That way, when you want to make a project and you're just trying to figure out what stitch you want to use, you can glance through all the Stitch of the Week and maybe come up with the perfect stitch pattern for your next project. So thank you everybody for stopping by today. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Let me know what you think of this stitch pattern in the comments section. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the crochet fun here at Creative Grandma's channel. So until next time, happy crocheting everyone.